You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey B&B fans, Belinda from Soap Dirt here, and I want to talk about Dr. Finn and his instant forgiveness that he is showing to Sheila Carter. And Lee Finnegan, the woman who raised him, and Steffy Forrester, the woman who loves him, are not going to put up with his nine-toed lunatic mom in their lives. Let's talk about what these two women might do if he pushes them too far on the CBS soap. But first, please subscribe if you haven't already. So last we saw Sheila Carter. She was giggling under the covers in the emergency room where Dr. Lee Finnegan works. I'd say those scenes were pretty amusing, with Sheila under the covers smiling, showing just her 9 toes, all to build up to the reveal that she's alive. And you know, on Friday's episode, Lee is going to absolutely lose it. And you can't blame her. She is not going to believe it for a moment, but the proof is right there in front of her eyes. At the same time that Lee is getting the shock of her life, finding out for herself that Sheila is truly alive, Finn is at the beach house telling his wife, oh, by the way, my birth mom survived the stabby stuff. And as part of that conversation, Finn is going to tell his wife that his birth mother is a hero, and all about how Sheila sacrificed herself to try and stop sugar. And of course, Steffy Forrester is not going to believe that Sheila loves her or gives a damn about saving her from anyone, much less her doppelganger Sugar. And the big problem, of course, the big complication is that Sugar's body was cremated. So it's kind of difficult to prove she was in town, but the very fact that Sheila is still here and Steffy knows she stabbed someone to death, that's proof enough, I guess. They're just going to have to live with it. But Steffy, of course, you know, as much as she's not going to like acknowledging that Sheila is alive, she can't deny she stabbed a woman to death in her house, and it looked like Sheila, but clearly was not. So, you know, I guess that's all the proof they're going to get, and they're just going to have to accept it. But even though Sugar's existence seems to be confirmed by the stabbing of one and the survival of the other, that doesn't mean the women in Finn's life are going to believe that Sheila has changed. Naturally, both Lee and Steffy are going to be so mad that Finn was out with Deacon on that Sheila safari. And even worse, they found Sheila clinging to life, allegedly, and brought her back from the brink. Since then, they both decided they believe every word that Sheila says, and both of the guys think she's redeemed, and they are so thrilled she's back in their lives. And Hope Logan's reaction to Sheila being alive, honestly, that's probably the best outcome they're going to get from anybody. She fainted and then came to, dealt with the shock, and then, you know, she was pretty polite to Sheila, very supportive of Finn. But Hope also warned him Steffy is never going to see things the way he does and is never, ever going to accept his bio mom in their lives, but he remains optimistic. Just a quick detour for a second. I want to talk about whether or not Sheila is actually redeemed and changed. A lot of people think it's all a setup because everything has worked out perfectly for Sheila and that she somehow tricked or conned Sugar into going over there to kill Steffy. I actually did a whole standalone video exploring it. You can see it on our Bold playlist or scroll down on our main page and see it. But all that said, and it is feasible to some extent, I do think that she was faking it, but I think Brad Bell truly intends this as a true redemption story so they can keep Sheila Carter around because she is pretty good for ratings. And yeah, I know there was the whole thing with Kimberlin Brown saying she really thought Sheila was dead, but I'm sorry. I think these are more lines CBS Daytime has fed her to try and quell fan outrage at being lied to yet again about a character death like they did with Finn when they had Tanner Novlin telling similar tall tales. And most other soaps, they just don't talk about it. You just don't do interviews. And of course, that leaves you, oh, okay, maybe she's alive. But I feel like Bold thinks their fans are morons. The stuff they do is so insulting. It was very clear from their painfully obvious writing that Sheila was never dead. So why go out and have these people spread fictions like we're morons? We're not. Hello, Brad Bell. Get a grip. give your audience some credit, okay? Anyway, with that in mind, whether Sheila Carter is lying or not right now, whether she's faking it or not right now, doesn't really matter. Because Lee Finnegan and Steffy Forrester are never, ever going to accept or believe that Sheila is redeemed. They will never believe those statements Sheila made to Finn about loving and wanting to protect Steffy. Let's be honest, Sheila does not and never will love Steffy. Maybe that was the dehydration talking. I don't know. Maybe that was one lie Sheila told, or just the first of many lies that she's continuing to tell. The bottom line, Finn is going to repeat what Sheila said like it is facts because he and Deacon believe it all. They've drunk the Kool-Aid. Finn is now calling Sheila mom, which is going to infuriate both Lee and Steffy. And I do think Finn is on the fast track to an intervention where these women sit him down and tell him, you can't be around Sheila. You can't see her. You can't talk to her. She cannot be in our lives. They are going to make demands, very strong statements, ultimatums, possibly even threats. And I bet they expect Finn to cave and do what they tell him. Why? Well, because he always has in the past. Finn usually lets Steffy tell him what to do. And I'm guessing his mom, Lee Finnegan, is used to having what she wants out of him as well. We've seen that. She has a very strong personality, and I'm guessing she has bossed him around his whole life. We've seen how pushy she is. But in this case, I suspect Finn is probably going to push back on both of them and refuse to stop seeing Sheila. In his mind, his bio mom is redeemed. Sure, she shot him and Steffy, but she also saved Kelly Spencer from drowning. And in Finn's mind, Sheila also saved Steffy and the kids from sugar. So I think he sees it as kind of an even Steven thing. As for Lee Finnegan, yes, Sheila ran her off the road, leaving her to die, but then Lee stood in the ER, letting Sheila die of a heart attack in front of her. Those two might actually be closer to even Steven than anyone, but Sheila's laundry list of crimes is long and varied. And I will say people do change, but we just don't know if she's changed or not. Only time will tell the viewers, but I don't think Steffy and Lee are going to be happy with Finn. Don't know if they'll face off with Finn together as a unit in an intervention type setting, inviting other Forresters and Logans to attend like a true intervention, or maybe they confront him individually, but it's definitely going to be some effort coming by them to intervene in what they see is this Finn and Deacon madness with Sheila. What do you guys think? Is Finn ever going to convince his adoptive mother and his wife to accept Sheila into their lives? Or are they all about to be ripped apart by this resurrection? Let me know what you think. Drop it in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't. Be sure and come back soon. We are here talking bold 7 days a week. And as always, I'm your host, Belinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.